Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty show. And tonight, we have got some trade deadline trades for you. That's right. I've got over 25 trades to go through with you guys. Heavy week of trading in my leagues. Like I said, over 25 trades happened, and I am going to go over every single one of them to show you just what's going on out there, what you can get done in your leagues to help improve your dynasty teams. Let's get it on, all right? Why don't we head over to let's start with my Dynasty Land teams. Yes, Dynasty Land. We are in the Dynasty Land 12-team Start 9 league, and we've got a deal going on between Ramzak and Brijek in the 10 years of rebuild there, as you can see. And so in this one, we had Ramzak, who is a contender, getting Njoku, Joan Jennings, and a 26-second for Sam Darnold and his 25-second back, which will be early as Brijek is in a rebuild. Now, this one, and I spoke with Brijek actually about this one after the deal. He messaged me to talk about it, and because he was leery about what he had just done, and so obviously he was having a little buyer's remorse. So Brijek is in a heavy rebuild here, and this was not a deal that I really liked for him because basically it lost value. When you are in a major rebuild, something that is going to take more than one season, you need to be making sure that the trades that you are doing are at least even in value, if not gaining value. And what I mean by that is you can use whatever calculator you want or whatnot, but in this case here, okay, he's got two assets in Njoku and Jennings who are both worth roughly a second each, and then Sam Darnold, who's roughly worth a second right now. Okay, he's basically giving up a second rounder here. I don't care that the 25-second is early versus the 26-second, which is going to be mid to late probably. You know, there's still second-round picks, okay? Yes, early seconds tend to hit a little bit more, but you know what? Those late firsts and early second-rounders, they hit at like a 50% rate, okay? If that. Some years, they're much worse than others. This year was pretty good. You had like Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, and Bo Nix in that range. So you got 3 hits out of that area. But you also had some not so great ones, right? Xavier Worthy was in that range. What other receivers am I missing? There was Xavier Legette was a little later. But you get my point. If you go back through the last 4 or 5 years, you can see how many wasted picks there were in that range, like the Hendon Hookers and the, Trey Sermons of the world, right? Those were all late first, early second round picks. And so they are not bona fide superstars like top 5 picks. Okay. So early firsts carry much, much more weight. Anyway, back to this deal. Brijek lost a second rounder in value. And when he is trying to rebuild, you need to gain as much value as possible. He should have been like basically on the other end of this deal. Now, Joan Jennings is definitely a win now piece. Okay. After this season, he probably won't be worth a second. Okay. Because Ayuk will be coming back. So then you'll have Debo and Ayuk. Now, if Debo happens to go somewhere else, I guess Joan Jennings could possibly be worth a second throughout the offseason. But that's just tentatively speaking. I mean, you still have Ricky Pearsall there, George Kittle, of course, Christian McCaffrey. So it's a loaded wide receiver or a loaded receiver room there in San Francisco. But Ramzak definitely can use Joan Jennings. this year. And that's what he was trading for. David Njoku definitely can use this year. And I know that Ramczak was loaded at quarterback. He had 4 or 5 quarterbacks, definitely didn't need Sam Darnold at all. And Sam Darnold, while he may go somewhere after this year and get a starting gig, it's really just going to be as a bridge quarterback likely. So the only way Brijek, what it came down to was I told Brijek, the only way you save yourself in this deal is if you're able to combine Darnold with something to land a first. Okay, if he gets a first out of Njoku, Jennings, and a second, that sort of saves the deal, because ideally when you're rebuilding, you want to acquire, especially in a league that's 12 by 9. What I mean by that is 12 teams start 9, other than the defenses and kickers. There's no kickers in this league, but there is defenses, but we don't count defenses as starters. So we're starting 9, meaning that it's a pretty shallow league. All right, you can only start 4 wide receivers total. So it's pretty shallow, meaning that you need hammers. All right, you need first round picks and hammers. That's what you got to get to. Right now, none of these players in here fit the bill. All right, none of these 5 assets in this deal fit that bill. But if you can maneuver these assets into one of those hammers or first rounders, that's where you gain an advantage. And that's where the fact that he did get the quarterback actually could save him in this case, because Sam Darnold getting a gig next year could help him package him, Darnold with a third, Darnold with a second, could package him into a 26 or 27 first potentially. And so that's what I told him would be the saving grace out of this deal. All right. But he has to do that in order to make it worthwhile to his particular rebuild. All right. So good deal for Ramczak. We'll see for Brijek. All right. Let's move on to the next deal. That would be in my 31-43 league. And so we'll slide on over to that here for y'all. Okay. We've got, yes, it's right over here. Here we go. Oh. Okay, so this one just got pushed through just recently. As I was putting the show together, this one went through. So this one had Foss back in action and Steve S. making a deal involving JMO and Michael Pittman. The Pittman side got a 25, 3rd, and 4th added onto it. Makes sense, pretty even. JMO for Steve is the better asset. I would lean towards Pittman. This offseason could see a rejuvenation, definitely if he goes to another squad. And I could see that happening with the loaded receiver room that the Colts currently have. So it's a possibility. So it's more of a speculative move for Foss. For Steve S.'s sake, let's see where he's at in the standings here. Where are the standings? There we go. Steve is in 5th place, so he's still definitely in the mix at 13-9. So as of now, he is a playoff team for sure. Not for sure, but very likely. I mean, he'd have to lose out and Bojo would have to win out. So Steve is likely a playoff team. JMO is the type of wild card that you like to have in your lineup if you are the underdog. So definitely a good piece for him to acquire versus Michael Pittman, who is completely nothing more than a full floor play at this point in this season, especially with Erich coming back. So yeah, I like the Steve S side. Don't hate the Foss side of it, because there is the potential there for Pittman to increase. I mean, his value has plummeted, and so definitely buying low on him. All right, here we go. Now is the deal that went through yesterday, and I was involved in this. And this one, I am in first place, but probably the second best team in this league. I'm going to be going up against a team that's won it twice in a row, pretty much just a monster team, Allen's team. And so here we go. Hopefully y'all saw that previous deal up here. Now, I went all Ravens here. Now, I didn't have Isaiah Likely. Fossboss threw Likely into the deal on the way back on a counter, so I just went ahead and took it because I wasn't going to mess around. Lamar was the piece that I wanted. Okay, I was sitting on Justin Herbert and pairing him up with basically Cooper Rush or some other backup quarterback. I can't think of it off the top of my head. No, it was a Brandon Allen. Maybe it was Winston. But anyway, Dak went down, and so I was stuck with Cooper Rush here. And I wanted to acquire, like, if I'm going to win the league, I got to have another hammer. And that was Lamar. Fossboss was sitting on the bottom of the standings somehow with Lamar on his roster. And so I figured it was time. And so I went ahead and dealt Dak as well as a few other injured guys. So Fossboss is going to see some value increase. You might look at this and say, wow, Lamar should have gotten more than this. But keep in mind that this 26 first is Fossboss's. He's getting it back. Same with his 25 second, he's getting back. Then that's going to be an early second. But the 26 first should be an early first unless he really, really finds a way to turn things around. It's likely to be a top 3 pick. So those two pieces, plus Dak, plus Godwin, plus Olave, and Fields, who could definitely get a pop in value when he signs somewhere else next year to be the starter. Depends on who else is there, whatever team he goes to. But all of these players for him, Dak, Godwin, Fields, and Olave, will gain some value over the offseason, as well as his picks. So I'm getting the Lamar side. I'm getting Zay Flowers as well to help cover for my loss of Godwin and Olave. So I think this was a win-win for both teams involved. I know that the keep trade cut value calculator had it they had like 15,000 in additional value placed into this deal, making it like 30 to 22,000, which I thought was just insane. And, not taking into account these picks and the fact that, Fossboss was having to reacquire his own first. So this was part of the thing, is that I kind of controlled his destiny going forward. Now Fossboss is back in control of his own destiny with his draft picks, at least, meaning that, when you're going into a rebuild, the first thing you need to do, if you've traded away any future firsts, is try to acquire those firsts back. Because any trade that you make, if you don't have your future first and you start making trades, trading away points, that just increases the value of the pick that somebody else has. And so to try and get that pick back, it's only going to cost you more. So the first thing you want to do is go after your pick the first that you may have traded away. All right. If the person who has it is asking just way too much, then you have to decide, hey, am I going to try and screw them over and continue to compete, or at least finish in the middle of the pack so that pick isn't too much, isn't too high in the standings? Or if you're really screwed, you can just say, hey, screw it, he's going to get a good player with my pick. That's the other option. But that's the fun in Dynasty. You get to decide if you want to screw that guy over or not. I mean, he's got your pick, so he's kind of holding you over the barrel, which is kind of what I was doing here. And he hooked me up with the top player in fantasy. I hooked him up with his picks back, and a bunch of guys were getting me nothing, but have definitely the possibility of popping all of them. So this one was a cool trade, I thought. All right. Next up, we are going to go over to my bottom line league with the boys down in Houston and Louisiana. We got four of us from Wisconsin here, and we've got a deal between myself and my co-host, Matt English here. We pushed this one through yesterday, and so bring it up right here. There we go. Let's see if I can bring up a better shot of it for you all. No, this is going to be the best. Oop. Hold on. Bear with me. There we go. All right, folks. Here we are. Okay, so my squad is currently in second place. 6 teams make the playoffs in this 12-team start 10 league. And we lost Dak in this one as well. Now, Mahomes is our first quarterback. We were sitting on Darnold and Cooper Rush as basically our number 2 QB. We had McCarthy sitting on IR. And so McCarthy obviously getting us 0 points. Now we do have Jefferson in this league, so we drafted McCarthy with the hopes of the stack right there. But fact is that Herbert is somebody I've always loved. I've kept him through the whole Harbaugh hiring. I was not one bit concerned about Harbaugh's fantasy outlook. It looked rough through September, but as you all know now, these last month, what would I say? Out of the last 5 or 6 games, I know there's only been 1 game where he's been under 20 points. All right. So Greg Roman and Harbaugh have sort of adapted to the fact that they have a player who can sling the rock, right? I felt that this is what was going to happen eventually at some point. There was too much talent, too much arm talent there for Herbert. This is not the type of quarterback that Harbaugh and Greg Roman are used to having. Usually they just have a guy who relies on their legs. Herbert actually does have decent legs, and so he's still running, but his passing has stepped up. And with Ladd McConkey taking over that solid 1 role for him, then you have QJ on the outside getting those looks. He had 8 targets last week, only caught 2 balls, but got a touchdown. And then you've got some nice complementary players like Josh Palmer, Will Dissly stepping up. So this this LA Charger offense is sort of rounding out and coming into form for their playoff run, which is looking great. I'm very excited for this Harbaugh Bowl on Monday Night Football, which will pit them against the Baltimore Ravens. Should be a very interesting, hopefully high-scoring game. And what we have here is Matt English, who is in a retooling he's in a productive struggle, I guess you would say, because he's a fringe playoff team. If he wanted to push his chips in, he could have tried to sneak into the playoffs, but this league has gotten a little top heavy. The top 4 or 5-ish teams are very strong. I think Matt's doing the right thing here and gaining that probable late first here from us. So I think this is an even trade, both sides. Both sides are getting something that they need to help their franchises. All right. So this is something you could do to try and acquire Justin Herbert without having to break the bank with, 3 firsts or whatever, something crazy like that. All right. Let's move on to the next deal, and that would be in my Turtle League. Yes, Turtle League getting represented here. Yes, let's see here. Where is... There we go. All right, so this one we've got Chupis and NLS2K Marky getting into it. This one I love. This is a fun one. All right, so this is one to put a poll on, honestly, because this one's so interesting. You could argue either side. So Chupis went ahead and went after Jaden Daniels, also getting DeAndre Swift, had to give up some Packers, Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love, and his 26th first. He actually, trying to think here. Yes, his 26th first. So, boy, Jacobs and Swift, you can almost cancel out. I definitely would lean Jacobs. But then you have the side of Jaden Daniels versus Jordan Love and a 26th first. Wow. Okay, so this one comes down to how you want to build your franchise, okay, and what types of quarterbacks you want. Do you want the risk with Jaden Daniels and the pop that he provides? Like, Jaden Daniels can be a league winner, a true league winner, right? Lamar Jackson type of potential. Josh Allen type potential. That kind of explosiveness is possible with Jaden Daniels, and it's not possible really for Jordan Love. However, Jordan Love has big games himself. But the fact is, right now, Jaden Daniels is like 6th in quarterback scoring. Jordan Love is 19th. Now, he missed 2 games, so you can kind of give him credit for that. Points-wise, Jaden Daniels is a little bit over a point per game more scoring. Jacobs is about a point per game more than Swift. So point per game wise, this is pretty even. If you look at the standings here, NLS2K is right near the top. I think he's in 2nd. Yes, there he is in 2nd place. Chupis is in a retooling mode in 9th place here. So he's not quite at the bottom, as you can see down there. I am definitely in the super tank mode. And, but Marky gets a little more solid with Jordan Love. I don't hate the trade for him. Josh Jacobs has a nice schedule coming up for the postseason run. So, and he acquires the first in it. But I don't hate it for Chupis either, because, as I said, Jaden Daniels is one of the guys who can lead you to a championship in the future. And so now he has the opportunity to build around him. And so he's shooting his shot on Jaden Daniels. Can't blame him for doing that. All right. Next up, we've got a couple of deals in my Mojo League. Here we go. Let's get to them. All right. So we've got first deal we're going to talk about here is, yes, this one. So let's bring it up here. Okay. Here we go. All right. So we've got Fossboss and Richard Brand getting into it. Fossboss acquiring DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, and a 27 first. In return, Richard Brand gets Chris Godwin, Kyron Williams, and a 26 first. So the firsts pretty much cancel each other out. Then you've got Godwin, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Kyron Williams. So on the Richard Brand side of things, he's getting Godwin, Kyron, and a 26 first. So he's moving up a gear, gaining Chris Godwin, who, going in next season, I think Godwin and DJ Moore will definitely be around equal. But Godwin, if he remains in Tampa, he's a free agent. But if he does re-sign in Tampa, he could retake over the same role in the Cooper Kupp role of that Rams offense that the Bucs are running now. And so then I would definitely favor Godwin. As far as Kyron Williams versus Garrett Wilson, well, that just comes down to positionally. I don't see Kyron losing his job. I definitely wasn't big on Kyron coming into this season. And, I would have to take an L on that one because Kyron's definitely proved me wrong. But, with Blake Corum there's always the possibility of an injury and Blake Corum taking over because I do love the talent of Blake Corum. So this one, I am just going to call this even. I don't. Now, if Foss is contending here, then I can see doing it because you're getting out of the Chris Godwin 0 points this season. And so if you look at it, that is what Foss did. He is in 4th place. So he is gaining DJ Moore and what is it? Look back again. Yes, he is gaining DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson's points while just losing Kyron Williams. And all he had to do was sacrifice a year of first rounders for it. So I like it for Foss. I definitely like it for Richard Brand, who's at the bottom there rebuilding. So I do like it on his end as well. So this was a very well-constructed trade for both parties, in my opinion. Very good job, fellas. All right. The other deal in Mojo Forever was simply was Dami Salami and Fantasy Reaper. I don't even have to go up to that one. Dom's competing and Fantasy Reaper's rebuilding, and Dom got Juwan Jennings for a second. This isn't the only league where that deal went down, but that's very solid. Win-win deal. Juwan Jennings for a second. Juwan Jennings going to the 3rd place Dami Salamis. There we go. All right. Okay. Next up, we're going to go to my Lemmy's Dynasty League here. Yeah, let's get down there. All right. Where's the Lemmy's League? There we go. Let's slide it up. That's it. All right, Lemmy's. This is a league that's been going on since 2020. I am in 1st place in this league. This deal went down between West Coast Bias and Foss. And so let's get up to it. There we go. Here we are. All right. So West Coast Bias consolidated some assets into a 25-second. Love how he did this. And on the other end, Foss grabbed a starting QB and Jameis Winston and added a couple of depth pieces in John Mechie and Isaac Guerrero. So this one comes down to both players doing what they need to do in their particular positions. Sort of feel like, maybe a little bit of an overpay, but at the same time, if he needs Jameis Winston and he's getting a couple of starts out of him, then it's definitely worth it, in my opinion, from Foss's end. So I don't mind that at all. And if we look at the standings here, Foss is sitting at 5-6. He is on the fringe of the playoffs because we've got 6 teams make it, and right now there is 4 teams tied at 5-6. So Foss is right there. We bring up his squad. You can see here he is sitting on CJ Stroud and Kirk Cousins at quarterback. So fortunately, he made this deal a little too late, so he's got to get Cousins out of his lineup. Squeeze somebody else in there for this week at least. But this should help him going forward to provide some depth and the possibility of Cousins' injury or something else happening. At least he's got some depth there. All right, let's move on. We've got... Oh, there was one more deal in Lemmy's. I don't want to forget about this one. This one was a fun one. Let's bring it up here. There we go. All right. Here we go. Steve S., who's in the mix, acquired TJ Hawkinson and Tyron Tracy. Gave up Derek Carr, 25 first and 25 third. So, West Coast bias, again, adding to his war chest of draft picks. So, if you combine both deals, he was able to get rid of Hawkinson, Tracy, and some garbage and acquire a quarterback, a first, second, and third. Steve, on the other hand, was able to help his starting lineup with Hawkinson and a running back, Derek Carr. Let's take a look at his quarterback situation here. Steve is sitting in fifth place, definitely in contention at 6-5. He's sitting on Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix at quarterback. Also has Sam Darnold, so he definitely did not need Derek Carr. So he's looking strong for contention. He's got Jaden Daniels, Christian McCaffrey, and Jefferson on this squad, getting Evans back, adding Hawkinson to this lineup, and Tracy. He definitely improved his starting lineup immensely with this deal. So I love this trade. For Steve, West Coast bias, trusting the process here, doing the right thing. So I love it from his end as well. All right. Good job, both guys, on that deal. All right, next league up. Oof. This one, this league is having some fun. This is my 16-team super flex. Start 10. This is a monster league. All right, where'd it go? There we go. All right. So now we got a lot of deals in this league. All right, let me backtrack to the beginning of this week here. Yeah, we'll just go right to them. Okay, so this was the most recent deal that we had here. Okay, so Ertz and 4 TDs has been going wild on the trade market here. And here he is giving up a first rounder along with Garoppolo and Flacco. Now, backup quarterbacks in this league are important. And in turn, he gave up Brock Purdy, Brandon Allen, 26 third, and 100 in fab. All right. So in this league format, I would lean the Brock Purdy side. Now, I don't hate it for Bollinger, but no, Bollinger did get the first. Okay. Bollinger got Brock Purdy. Pardon me, Bollinger. Don't want to lean into you. I like your side of it. Now, Ertz and 4 TDs has been acquiring picks this whole week, so this just played into his rebuild process. Love it from Bollinger's side. You're not going to get a quarterback in the 2025 draft better than Brock Purdy. Now, it comes down to how high is that pick. Let's look at it here. Bollinger is currently sitting right in the middle at 5-6, definitely with a shot at the playoffs because you got 6 teams at 6-5, 3 teams at 5-6, all of which definitely have a shot at the playoffs. So Bollinger injecting into his starting lineup, Brock Purdy and Brandon Allen, the tandem there. So this week he will have Will Levis and Brandon Allen, I'm assuming, in his lineup. Right now he's got McBride in there, but I would think he's going to inject Brandon Allen in there maybe. We'll see. We'll see what he decides to do. I would think he'd go with the quarterback. But anyway, point being is that Bollinger now actually has 2 quarterbacks on his roster. Good job, Bollinger. Ertz and 4 TDs. Trust the process, man. I get it. You're doing what you feel you got to. At this point, you don't think you can win. So you're going the other direction, and that is your prerogative. I mean, he may be 6-5, but this is a shell of a roster of what he had earlier in the week. As you can see, when we go up further, we'll find the other trade before that. He traded Adam Thielen for a 5th. Hey, got to get something for him. And then before that, with Steven RBD, he traded Chase Brown for a 1st and MVS for a 4th, both with Steven RBD. I like those deals for both sides. And then we've got a bigger one here with Brijek. Here we go. So this one, I'm torn on this one because it really comes down to, let's see, where's Brijek in the standings right now? I hate how it doesn't show whose picks those were. So Brijek is sitting, he's sitting in 2nd place. So that was a huge addition to his lineup, adding Jonathan Taylor in a 16-team format. Anybody who's played 16 teams knows how tough it is to have those stud running backs. So Jonathan Taylor is definitely a nice piece. Waddle, underperforming, but Tua's back. He hasn't done much in the last couple of weeks, but it's bound to happen. And so Waddle, definitely a starter in a 16-team deep league like this. So I like how Brandon was able to add two starters to his lineup. He's in 2nd place, so you gotta go for it here. He's got Chase down here and Garrett Wilson. So you inject Chase and Garrett Wilson in place of McMillan and Judy, I guess. And then you're looking at, McMillan and Darnell Washington. So you inject Chase and Garrett Wilson in place of those when they're not on bye, and you can see this really is a solid lineup going forward. So Brijek looking good for the playoff run here in this league. Okay, and then before that, is it my deal? I had one big deal in here. There it is. This isn't mine, but this was with NLS 2K, who I traded with prior to this. But you can see NLS 2K looking to acquire as many picks as possible, gave up Brian Robinson for a 27 first and a 26 fifth. Got to have that 26 fifth in there. I don't mind this deal for both sides. Grid FE adding a running back to the squad here. He is in... What place is he in? Where is he at in the standings? Okay, he's on the very bottom. So interesting move. I don't know if I love that deal for him, but Mahomes, Walker, Saquon. Oh, God. No wide receivers on this squad. But loaded at running back. Interesting move from Grid FE. I'm not sure where he's going with that move, honestly. But it's a 27 first. It's far enough out. If he's able to acquire some wide receivers next year, could be looking at something. Interesting move. Like the move for NLS 2K, getting a first for Brian Robinson is a solid move right now, for sure. Okay. And then we've got... I don't know. Let's bring it up over here. Trades. There we go. Right in the middle, you guys can see it now. NLS 2K gets 26 first and second for CMC. So basically pretty even if you take the values on any old calculator, but I was looking to push the chips in, and no one better to do that with than CMC. Now you can take a look at my lineup. This is my last run at it. I got a pretty old team, as you can see here, with Henry and Connor. I got Burrow on bye this week, but I'm playing a team that's depleted by buys. So McCaffrey slides into my super flex spot. You can see there Henry. So I have Henry, Connor, and McCaffrey at running back. Ridley, Keenan Allen, Hopkins, and Mike Evans at wide receiver. I've got one other wide receiver down here, Amari on bye. So I've got I'm doing the ultimate low-end veteran point total getters. Ridley, Keenan Allen, Hopkins, and Evans, and Amari, like all the old veterans that can all get you 10 to 15 every week. So just scraping the bottom of the barrel, getting what I can out of Kelsey. This is definitely the last hurrah here for these guys. But we'll see what it turns into. Should be fun. I am about as old can get here. Hey, I'm having fun in this league. We'll see what ends up happening. All right, next up, we'll go to my super deep league, which is a one quarterback league. We do have some one quarterback leagues out there still. Yes, we do. And here we had we had 3 trades in this league. All right. Where's the most recent one? Here we go. Dalton Schultz for a second. This is a single quarterback, but tight end premium. So Dalton Schultz for a second. Pretty fair deal. Matt, 2005 USAF, getting Schultz. Hergot getting the 27 second there. Pretty fair deal all around. Where are the other trades here? There we go. Juwan Jennings for a second. I'm rebuilding. Wisconsin competing. I think he's in first or second. He'd have the first or second seed right now. So Juwan Jennings definitely can give him a boost to his starting lineup. And then we had, Wisconsin made a deal right at around the same time as we did that deal. Where is it? Why is it not showing up here? All right, I'm just going to go down here and bring it up. I hate how Sleeper makes you do this on the desktop. It's so hard to do these trades. All right. There we go. Okay. You see it in the middle there, folks. Okay. We got Wisconsin gaining Joe Mixon, giving up DK Metcalf to Steve S. DK for Joe Mixon. Pretty much just a positional move for each. Steve wanted to gain at the wide receiver position. Wisconsin wanted to add to his running back room. I think it leans towards Wisconsin for this season, but afterwards DK will be the more valuable asset going forward. So you can see the standings here. There's 4 divisions. So there's Wisconsin. He's sitting at 10-1. Steve is in his division at 8-3. So he probably couldn't catch him. But Steve definitely doesn't lose much. I mean, if you're looking at this season, DK could definitely outscore Mixon, and that would be a total win then for Steve. But Mixon is smashing right now. So I don't hate that deal for Wisconsin either. All right. Let's get on to the next league, and we've got one QB league here. Last man standing. Now, this one is a 1-quarterback league with a twist. And the twist is that we start 2 tight ends, but no tight end premium. So it's a little tricky. Tight ends still go for more. Their value is increased in the fact that you have to start 2 every week. So the top end teams in this league, it's a very interesting format, but the top teams in this league, if you look at them, I'll just give you an example. Diamond 8, he is full of studs here, and you can see he hasn't adjusted his lineup yet for this week, but he's got JD up at the top, Kamara, Montgomery, receivers, pretty loaded. He's got JT down here also at running back. But Jefferson, G-Dub, Downs, and then Kelsey and Goddard at tight end. Lake Slavic, he has Likely and Bowers in there right now. I know that he has, is it Kelsey, or he's got some other tight end? He's got Pitts, Kincaid. That's who I was thinking. Kincaid is out. Okay. So you can see that the tight ends carry a lot of value in this format. And the deal that went down here did not involve a tight end, but I was at 4-7, decided to push towards next season. And so I acquired a bucket full of seconds here, loving that. Got rid of Brock Purdy, who really had no value to me because I have Josh Allen, so I don't mind getting this boatload of seconds along with Tajay Spears, Mims, and Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young is my backup quarterback now, so it's not completely useless. Mims is useless. But Lake Slavic, who you saw there, is in second place. He definitely boosted his chances to win. Brock Purdy improved his quarterback room, added Juwan Jennings for the stack, and then Austin Eckler. His prior quarterback situation, he had Bryce Young and Derek Carr. That's what he was dealing with. And you can see with the strength of the rest of his team, he was able to get into second place with that. Now he adds Brock Purdy. He's probably looking at getting Brandon Allen if he hasn't been scooped up in this league. But, yeah. All right. Move on from this league to the Birdhouse. And our first check into some best ball action. All right. So, for some reason, the screen won't come up there, but let's take a look here. All right. So, we had 4 deals go down in this league. No, sorry, just 2 deals. Here's one of them. Matt English gaining a second rounder, giving up a Sam Darnold to the Fantasy Reaper. Pretty standard deal there, win-win. Trade before that, here we go. I traded with Mark, NLS2K. I acquired Juwan Jennings and Taysom Hill, giving up a second and third. Pretty standard value-wise. NLS2K moving into a retool for next season. And so he was easily willing to give up Juwan Jennings and Taysom Hill from them. Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill is someone like, trying to think of, like your backup quarterbacks, right? Like a Jameis Winston. You don't know when to play them, when to start them, but in best ball, you don't have to worry about it. That's the great thing. Taysom Hill, I don't expect him to put up 50 points another week for me, but if he puts up a 25 spot, I'm going to get credit for it. It's awesome. Okay, now we go on to the Birdhouse, and in the Birdhouse, number 2 league here, I just acquired Saquon from Fossboss, giving Fossboss his first and second rounders back. in the 26 season, which is important because Fossbos is one of the bottom 2 teams. So those will likely be early. So that's where that evens out this trade. If this was just a late or like my 26 first, then I would question it a little. But seeing that this should be an early first and early second, I think you can even this trade out value-wise. I am a contender in this league, so I can't bring this up, but I believe I'm in 4th place right now, so adding Saquon definitely helps my contention. All right, before that, we got a deal here between Richard Brand and Let's Go Brandon. And so this one had Richard Brand, who's moved into a rebuild state. He's on the bottom of the standings, and you can see with his next deal that he made with me. But this was after that deal with me. He acquired Kate Otten, Khalil Shakir, a first and second in 25. And in return, Let's Go Brandon nailed down Nico Collins, Jalen Warren, and Ben Sinnott. Now, Ben Sinnott, you could, I guess, toss out of this deal because his value has plummeted since the off season, where he had that moment in time around draft season where he was getting pushed up the boards and whatnot. But I still think there's hope for Ben Sinnott. So I guess if you want to cancel him out with Kate Otten, you could, but I wouldn't at this point. Kate Otten has been great for best ball teams because he's not somebody who at the beginning of the season you would have thought was going to be a starter, especially in lineup leagues. But for your best ball leagues, you've gotten the benefit of all these points that he acquired while Godwin and Evans have been out. So Otten's been great. Now Let's Go Brandon was able to take advantage of that right when Evans is coming back. Now he gave up Khalil Shakir, and Shakir's a great floor guy. And in best ball, he's great because he's going to make it the lineup pretty much weekly in that 10 to 15 range. But still, you're getting Nico Collins here. Okay. I can't hate on that. So if I was Richard Brand, I may have tried to get more. I don't mind getting rid of Jalen Warren. He's a running back. So, unless Najee goes down with injury, Jalen Warren isn't going to have a huge week. He had a good game this last week. He got like 18 points on Thursday night with that touchdown. But the main piece here is Nico. And so if Let's Go Brandon doesn't move up in the standings, then this could be a real nice, if this ends up being a pick 5 or 6, could be you could argue for Richard Brand here. Now he's trying to lower his point total to make his pick higher. So I can understand that end of it as well. All right. So I like the deal for both sides here. Love it for Let's Go Brandon getting Nico Collins. Just an absolute hammer. All right. Next up, we've got. Oh, I didn't show you my deal with Richard Brand. Let's bring that up. This is what kicked off this frenzy of 4 trades in this league. Okay. There we go. I completely forgot about this one. This one actually started off the trading this week. It was Isaiah Pacheco going for what would be a late first right now. And so Pacheco for a late first, pretty standard there. Chupas getting the first. Trav Bieski, who's in second place, getting Isaiah Pacheco, who should see action this week. Don't know how much, but I think that once the playoffs start, you're going to have a lot of Isaiah Pacheco there for the Chiefs. All right, now this was the deal that kicked off the trading frenzy in this league. Now, for context, a week earlier, to start with, I had Richard Brand's pick, and he's in last place. So I was looking at it like, hey, this is the 101. This is going to be Ashton Genty, right? So last week he was trying to get his pick back for Breece Hall, but he wanted his pick and 2 seconds basically. And I was like, nah, that's too much. He was giving me like 2/3 back. I was like, that is too much. So then this week, after Breece had a big game, I was a little more interested in Breece. I'm contending in this league. I'm in 4th place, I think 3rd in points. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll do Breece. Breece is young enough. I didn't really want to give up Ashton Genty, but I do want to win more than just sit and stare at Ashton Genty on my roster. And that's something that you have to kind of grasp. The fact is we're playing to win here. So me sitting on the 101 while I'm trying to compete doesn't really make sense, right? Like the 101, especially when you got 3 teams at the bottom in this league who have assets that can help you win now. That's when you take advantage of that. This was a pick that I acquired in the startup, right? So I moved back in the startup, got this guy's first, and yet I was still able to find a way to compete this season. And here I was sitting in 4th place. Well, now is the time to go after it. I know this is the first year of this league, right? And generally, you don't want to waste picks when it's the first year of a league, but when the opportunity is there to win, like you've got to go for it, because you don't know when you're going to have that opportunity again. Guys get hurt, injuries happen, trades happen. You don't know when you're going to be in the top 4 of your league again. So I'm there and I make this deal, which started out as me telling him, like, look, the 101 to me and Breece Hall basically are even, right? But if I'm going to give you the 101, like, I want to maybe get some other player and then I'll give you something else in return. I'm like, do you think, is DJ Moore pissing you off? I saw him on his roster and I figured, he's trying to start over. Why would you want DJ Moore, who's getting to be an older receiver? He'll be 28 this season. Rome Odunze will probably be the top receiver there for the Bears. Not that DJ Moore will be useless. He's still going to be, Keenan Allen will probably move on to somewhere else. So it's going to be Rome and DJ Moore next year. So DJ could actually see more targets next season than what he's gotten this year. And you would expect Caleb Williams to probably increase his passing volume next season as well. So anyway, I saw the potential there with DJ Moore. I don't mind his floor. Like, hey, if he only gets 9 or 10 points, he still might get in, sneak into my lineup, right? So that was fine. And then he also said, hey, what about Tua? And I was like, well, sure. I don't own any Tua. Since the concussion thing really became a thing for Tua, I really have avoided him. But when it comes to best ball, I guess I didn't mind it, right? Especially at the cost here. Like I was throwing in 2 of these receivers and a second to get DJ Moore. So then I threw in another second and another receiver to get Tua. And so now, when you look at my lineup here, what I've been able to do, it won't show. I hate how this lab on the desktop, it won't show the league because I can't show you my squad. But now the reason that Tua I was all right getting him is he became like my 5th quarterback. I have Jalen Hurts, I believe, in this league. And then I had like a cluster of 3 dudes like Darnold, Winston, and some other bum quarterback. I think Minshew, right? And now I throw Tua into that. And in best ball, why I love having even more than just 3 quarterbacks, having 4 or even 5, you get multiple shots at getting a 20-plus point scorer at quarterback in your QB2 or Superflex spot. And the odds are that one of those 4 bums is going to throw for 250 and 2 touchdowns, right? And that'll get you up to the 20-point barrier on most weeks. So that's why I like getting one hammer at quarterback and then just building up quarterback room through the mess of variance, essentially. And I just scrounge for quarterbacks. Like Brandon Allen is the type of quarterback I would pick up just to throw into the bench and keep zeros off of my roster. All right. I don't like having injured players on best ball teams. I don't like having, third string running backs waiting for the top 2 guys to get hurt. I kind of like to slim down my running backs, only have like 5 or 6 running backs on the roster. And then the bottom of it, I like to pick up those 3rd and 4th wide receivers on teams who, like a Jalen Naylor type, who when they do score the touchdown, then they get 12 or 13 points that week. Boom, they fall into my lineup at the bottom of my lineup. And that's how I help keep the floor of my lineup on a week-to-week basis in best ball higher than the other teams in my league. So that's it's all about roster construction in best ball. Definitely different than lineup leagues. And I just love best ball dynasty, how it allows you to build your roster in a different way than lineup leagues does. All right, we'll move on. That's enough for the Birdhouse number 2. We are going to move into the Crash and Smash League next. Here we go. So in Crash and Smash, we've got, what deal here? Yes. I know what deal we need to bring up here. This one's for Matt E. He definitely won this deal, but I'm going to bring it up just for him. Yes. No, not there. I've got to go back a little ways, so bear with me. This is an IDP league. It's 12 teams, start 12. So it's nice and deep, 30-man rosters. And you've got a few, this one might be like 34-man rosters because we start 3 IDPs as well. Oh, where is this trade? Sorry, guys. Thanks for... Okay. There it is, if you can see it on the side. Okay. Let me adjust it a little. Okay. There we go. Now you can see it. Okay, so Matt English acquired Russell Wilson, Joe Mixon, and Justin Jefferson. 2, Belleville went Travis Etienne, Bryce Young, and Zay Flowers, plus a 26 first and second. Now, Justin Jefferson himself could garnish a trade offer like this, right? So I am definitely leaning the Matt English side. He's a middle of the pack team. I think he's in 6th or 7th, but this just boosts him up immensely. I mean, Russell Wilson is definitely outscoring Bryce Young on the season. Joe Mixon versus Travis Etienne is a win for Matt, at least for this year. And then Justin Jefferson versus Zay Flowers, first and the second. I'm definitely leaning Jefferson. As much as Zay Flowers looks like a nice young wide receiver, he isn't Justin Jefferson. So anytime you can acquire something like this and get some nice veteran production in Russell Wilson and Joe Mixon in a best ball format and get rid of the headache of ETN and Bryce Young, well, whew. Now, from the other guy's side, okay, I can understand you're thinking you're buying low on ETN and Bryce Young. And I can see if you're rebuilding, you don't want anything to do with Russell Wilson. But I think he sold low here. Like, if you're trying to do this, just eliminate the Jefferson and Zay Flowers and draft pick part of it, right? I mean, Joe Mixon and Russell Wilson should be going for Bryce Young and ETN, and that being even. If not, you getting an extra pick or something, like a second thrown in, just because you're giving them the production. So, love Maddie's side of this. Bellvillain, I mean, this is just one where if you're getting rid of Justin Jefferson, whether you're rebuilding or you're a contender, man, because Jefferson's just the type of player that fits. He's young enough where he fits any build. So if I'm giving up Justin Jefferson, if he had gotten another first, if that second had been a first instead, I might be more leaning towards an even deal here. But man, I'm sorry. Good job, Matt. However you work this deal out, good job. All right. Let's get on. We got 3 more deals to give you. A couple of best ball deals. Not first, your last. Here we go. All right. We got 2 deals in this league. First one is right there. So, Fantasy Reaper acquired a first. Richard Brand, who is on top in this league, went after J.K. Dobbins. I think it's a late first because he's definitely he's fighting for the bye right now. So, I think he gave up a little bit too much, but I can understand wanting to add to the running back room. Still, I think he gave up a little too much. Now, there's still the fact that J.K. Dobbins is only 26, and who's to say he doesn't re-sign in L.A. next year, right? Now, do I think that he's part of their plans to be there next year? I don't know. We're going to have to see that, but he's definitely going to help him this year, and I'm sure that's what Fantasy Reaper was looking at. So I love his end of it. If I was Richard Brand, I probably would have tried to do 2 seconds instead of a first, all right, or second and a third instead of the first. That's how I'm at. Feeling for that league. Now, we got one other deal. What is it? Oh, that was right before the game started last week. Fantasy Reaper put Devontae Adams on the block, and I'm contending I'm in 4th place, I think, in this league. And so I gave up a second for Devontae Adams. That's a pretty standard value. I think it's even both ways. And, I looked at it like, hey, if I want in the offseason, I can probably get a second for Devontae Adams. So I didn't think I was really giving up much. All right, and then we got one last deal, which is a nice one. It's in my Dynasty Best Ball Superflex. There we go. All right, and this went down. There we go. You see that? Okay, perfect. This was a very even deal. Dalton Kincaid and the 25 first late for Joe Mixon and Tucker Kraft. Now, interestingly, Tucker Kraft and Dalton Kincaid, you can almost just cross them off, really, when you look at Kraft's production. Now, granted, once the health of the Packers receivers was restored, like Watson coming back, Kraft's production has dipped a little, but Dalton Kincaid is definitely not blown up like some of us hoped in the offseason. So they actually are pretty closer than you might think. And then a 25 first late for Joe Mixon. Yeah, I can see that. So I like this one for both ends. Just thought it was an interesting one to show you. Good deal for Jay Scal, who is more in the rebuilding end. He gets the young tight end in Kincaid. Like I said, Tucker Kraft is more of a, Luke Musgrave is still there, so we don't know for sure that Kraft owns the tight end room, but he's definitely shown that he's better so far this year. So kind of, I like Dalton Kincaid better, but at the same time, you've got, Khalil Shakir taking over the middle looks. So I definitely, in a startup, I'm taking Dalton Kincaid first over Tucker Kraft. But at the same time, I'm probably in a startup just letting somebody take Dalton Kincaid and then waiting a round or two and being fine with Tucker Kraft. So that's why I'm like, this is one where if I'm able to do a tear down, if I have Dalton Kincaid and I'm able to get Tucker Kraft in a second for him, sign me up. Okay, I'll do that. But Joe Mixon is obviously a win now move. Dale Walters is competing, so I like that from his side because I do like Tucker Kraft. So like what Dale Walters did here as well. Both sides, good deal. All right, so there we have it. Whew. We took. We're over an hour in. I wanted to get it in an hour. Couldn't quite get that, but love you guys. Thank you for staying with me all throughout this trade show. If you've got any questions on any of the trades that may be in your inbox or that you may be thinking of offering, go ahead and shoot them my way at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. See what my thoughts are. If you feel like you need to add something to it or get the other guy to subtract something or add more to his side, just, if you're dipping your toe into it and a little bit sketchy and you need a little assurance, I get that. I understand. So go ahead and shoot me your question over there. Otherwise, you can sign up at patreon.com and ask me anytime, anything you've got. You can check out my rankings there, my college football rankings for the 2025 class coming up. So that helps your decisions with your draft picks, helping you understand when and where some of these positions are going to go this next season. 2025 class is heavy on the running backs. I'm telling you, don't love the quarterbacks so much. And the receivers are kind of meh. Receivers are always an interesting position because it always seems every single season that the late firsts and early second rounders are just dominated by wide receivers. And we've got all this hype about a couple of them, and you fall in love with one or two. This year it was Xavier Worthy. Some people were on the Ladd McConkey hype train. I was just like, give me Brian Thomas or you could have the rest of them. I'll take Bo Nix. And hey, Bo Nix, love him. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not a genius. I just watch the games and let you know what I think. Watch a lot of college football. It was quite a day in college football. I mean, Alabama just getting spanked in Oklahoma. And then Ole Miss going down to who'd they lose to? They lost to Kentucky, was it? Oh my gosh. So crazy day in the SEC. We'll see if Boise pull it out here. I'm going to check it out here. Brandon told me Genty crushed again. Let's see what Ashton Genty ended up with today. The consensus 101 at this point. I personally don't. I would prefer Tet McMillan just because I'm more of a wide receiver guy. I don't love taking a running back in a super flex league 101. Now I did take Bijan because Bijan was a true transcendent talent. Don't know if Ashton Genty's quite there. He's got some Jahmyr Gibbs in him. I don't want to put him in the LaDainian Tomlinson. I think he's more like Jahmyr Gibbs right now is where I would put Ashton Genty's talent. All right. Where is, that's just the Big 12. Okay. No, I don't want, there we go. Top 25. Boise did pull it out, 17-13. All right. Genty with a $169 on the ground, so another touchdown. Man, just rolling. Just rolling. Oof. All right, folks. That's all I've got. Thanks for joining me tonight. Love you all. Peace.